Playoff teams in the bottom 10? How could that be? We always appreciate you stopping by here at the Voice of College Football. Best discussion, debate, and analysis based on your participation. Please like the video and subscribe. Here we go with the bottom 10. We've had a whole lot of fun putting these together each and every week, and it appears as though you enjoy as well. Keep in mind, these are not the 10 worst teams in the country. It's a fun list of failings and disappointments. And we do start with the worst team in college football, Kent State. I posted a short a couple months ago. Keep this in mind, that there are 3 Hall of Fame coaches that hail from Kent State: Nick Saban, Don James, Lou Holtz. You've got a 4-time Super Bowl winner in Jack Lambert. You've got a Super Bowl MVP in Julian Edelman. You've got one of the top 3 receiving tight ends in the history of the NFL, Antonio Gates, all from Kent State, and more. One of the great return specialists in the history of college football and the NFL, I should say, Josh Cribbs, hailing from Kent State, but 0-12. And that's not rare with the Golden Flashes. Outscored this season 529-167 after a last game loss to Buffalo 43-7. They have lost 21 consecutive games, 23 consecutive FBS games. At number 10 on our bottom 10, or should they be number 1? The Golden Flashes. Shoot, Oklahoma State fared no better in the Big 12 than Kent State did in the MAC. No wins in 9 games for Mike Gundy's crew that went to the Big 12 championship game last year. Brought back a 7th-year starting quarterback. Brought back the nation's rushing champion. 3 of the best wide receivers in the conference, and what was hailed as a top 5 offensive line in the country. 0-9 for Oklahoma State following a 52-0 embarrassment drubbing at the hands of Deion Sanders in Colorado. Wow. Lost their average game in the Big 12, 41-22, lost by 19 points per game. At number 9 in the bottom 10, the Pokes. At least Florida State won a game in the ACC. Technically, Cal gifted them a game with 3 missed field goals, but Florida State wrapped up their fine 2024 campaign with a 20-point loss against rival Florida. Firing the offensive coordinator, the wide receivers coach, and the defensive coordinator, this is by far the most disappointing, the most embarrassing performance in college football this season. Yes, they did win 2 games, but Florida State is a dumpster fire, losing recruits left and right. National Signing Day couldn't come fast enough because they could possibly still get some good players to sign on the dotted line. It's a free fall in the standings that is now translating to the recruiting rankings. At number 8 on our bottom 10, FSU. The final 7 in our bottom 10 right here at the Voice of College Football, with a bit of a coaching flair, or a lot of a coaching flair, following Black Sunday. Neal Brown did post a winning record at West Virginia, just barely at 37-35, 25-28 in the Big 12, out after a final showing against Texas Tech and a 52-15 loss. Yes, Neal Brown gave us a glimmer of hope against a awful schedule. It was smoke and mirrors in 2023 at 9-4. West Virginia with a 6-6 season this year, and it was just not good enough for a program that is in the top 15 in the history of college football in wins, winning percentage, and can win 9 and 10 football games. Yes, in the Big 12, West Virginia has had enough of Neal Brown, number 7 on our bottom 10. Ryan Walters is leaving West Lafayette with a $9.3 million buyout. That's almost $2 million per win at Purdue. 5-19, 1-11 this past season. The one win against an FCS team, Indiana State, 49-0. Otherwise, just drubbed week after week, losing by an average of 44-12. And they left the worst for last, or the best for last. 66-0 against Indiana. Purdue could muster just, this is incredible, 67 yards of total offense. 67 yards, not on one drive, the entire game against Indiana. And they lose the Old Oaken bucket, and it got kicked right in their face. They stepped in at 66-0, and Ryan Walters and his team just abysmal this year. 4-8 last year, 1-11 this year. It was time to go. At number 6 on our list of the bottom 10, Ryan Walters, boiler down. Earlier this season, after giving up 70 points to James Madison, North Carolina head coach Mack Brown said he would not resign. Earlier this week, before a final game loss to NC State, Mack Brown said during his weekly news conference he was not going to resign. He would be back in 2025. There might have been a bit of a disconnect between Mack Brown and the University of North Carolina. Out just moments, hours after making that final claim in the news conference, North Carolina officials said, okay, let's set the record straight. Mack Brown will not be back in 2025. He went out with a 35-30 loss to NC State. Mack Brown, a remarkable run at North Carolina, especially his first tenure. And the mark of a good coach is, did he leave the place better than he arrived? And for Mack Brown at both North Carolina in the first stop, the second stop, and also at Texas, yes, the programs were all better with him than they were before and after. However, North Carolina has plateaued after he lifted them out of the Larry Fedora muck. They went to the ACC championship game 2 years ago. They just have not been able to elevate past that, and they are stuck in a 7-5, 8-5 type mode in Chapel Hill, and it's not good enough going into a new era of college football. So Mack Brown at 73 years old can fade off into the pasture. At number 5 on our list, great coach. Not anymore, though. It's time, Mack Brown. SMU football may win an ACC championship before Miami does. Let that sink in. Miami entered the ACC in 2004. Here we are 20 years later with one conference championship game appearance, and that was a drubbing against Clemson in 2017, and it was all right in front of them. 21-0 lead, 11-point favorite at Syracuse, and the Canes blew it. They will sit home for the ACC championship game and most likely for the college football playoff. Mario Cristobal is recruiting well, building a program. It seems to be going well, but he had it all in front of him. Weak schedule, but could not take advantage of it, and Miami goes down. So does Mario Cristobal at number 4 in our bottom 10. Auburn football is gaining talent for future seasons, but is Hugh Freeze going to be around for it? Well, most likely he will. The buyout is substantial, and the Auburn boosters have to be weary of paying off the likes of Brian Harsin and Gus Malzahn. So after another 5-7 woeful season in which they played one good Saturday of football against Texas A&M, Hugh Freeze and Auburn again looked abysmal on Saturday against Alabama. Mistakes all over the place in the red zone. Had an opportunity to be competitive late in this ball game. But yes, it was a comedy of errors once again for Auburn, who is one of the league nation's leaders in turnovers. Supposed to be an offensive guru, has given us 2 seasons of offensive misery. At number 3 on our list, Hugh Freeze, hot seat, Auburn. Speaking of misery, scarlet and gray equals misery these days. Ohio State goes down to Michigan for a 4th consecutive year, 13-10, 21-point favorite, possibly the most embarrassing loss in the series' storied history. So we have saved 2 spots in the bottom 10, the very top 2 or bottom 2, however you look at it. Yes, we're looking at you, Chip Kelly. So Ryan Day, considered one of the best offensive minds and play callers in college football, but the rigors of head coaching in this day and age became too much, and he reluctantly relinquished his play calling duties to one of the best in the business, or so we thought, or so he used to be, Chip Kelly. But did you see the game plan and the execution on Saturday on the offensive side for Ohio State? Abysmal. Too many runs inside the tackles against a stout Michigan front. That was the one spot where we all knew Michigan had the advantage. Yet Ohio State tried to muscle up, prove their toughness, just bang ahead, and that was not good enough. They had the advantage on the outside, especially with Will Johnson out. Yet Chip Kelly decided to run draw plays on 3rd and 9 with the closing minutes ticking away. It made no sense. It was not a good game plan. It was poorly conceived all around. Even the play that led to the interception call in the first half, when you really look at the route, the strategy, and what the Michigan corner Jair Hill must have been thinking, yes, it was pretty predictable what they were doing in running Carnell Tate right to the sticks. Chip Kelly, you're in the bottom 10. Welcome. And that leaves number 1 for, of course, Ryan Day. Wow, we could go on for hours. You know what? We have gone on for hours, so please check out our recent live streams here at the Voice of College Football, in which we have received all sorts of calls and questions and comments, of course, about one Ryan Day. The record says he's one of the best, not one of the 10 best, one of the 3 best. But when you put it all together, it's not nearly good enough. So Ryan Day will take an Ohio State team into the playoffs. Will they have any confidence left? What will they have left to deliver in the playoffs? We don't know. But we know that the Michigan loss was brutal enough to place Ryan Day at number 1, number 10, at the bottom, at the top of the bottom 10. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Leave your bottom 10 selections down below. I would love to read them. I'm sure there are plenty. I know that there are plenty of other candidates out there. I certainly perused many, but this is the 10 that we came up with. CFP Watch Party rankings unveiling on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Please join us then, right here at the Voice of College Football.